where now you really have a clear, wide vision of what San Diego is across for-profit, nonprofit, people who care, people that are young, people who are old. It is a beautiful nexus of finding the challenges and a great space to find the opportunities of what you can do in San Diego with a large supportive community.
All right, you're listening to Leading San Diego. I'm Veronica Parandi, Executive Director of Lead San Diego.
And I'm Adrian Quintero from the David's Heart Foundation. Each episode, we sit down with lead alumni to explore real stories of community leadership across our region.
And today we are here with two leaders who have a connection that goes a few years back, and we're going to be talking to them about how leadership starts early and then grows through community engagement.
So our guests are Jordan Harrison and J.Cole. Jordan is a lead San Diego board member and a graduate of Impact 2020. J.Cole is a director of commerce business development at Tenuity and lead alum through PLI 2019 and Young Leaders 2021.
Let's go.
RIP to those programs. We're not around it.
Well, they've been sunset. All right. So for both of you, when you show up in a room, how do you show up? Or like when you enter a room, how do you show up?
You should go first, because I work for a virtual company.
Oh, you don't even show when you open a Zoom.
When I
how
open
do
a
you
Zoom
show
wall,
up?
right?
Yeah. How do you show up?
It's interesting. It's like our company, we used to be fully active in the office 5 days a week. Pandemic hit. We're a fully remote company, 1,200 people all across the United States and global. So I would say, in terms of showing up, I think even more of a reason because body language, I would say like 80% of it. And especially, I think, when you're working with different types of people from across different states, different backgrounds, just being mindful, I would say, of who's in the room and understanding that, especially for folks who in our client environment, they're working with big brands, pretty high intensity environment. I try to create an environment where it relaxes them.
Yeah.
Usually I'll make a joke. I love self-deprecation, anything that can kind of just ease the room. So everyone goes, hey, we're doing okay, right? This is supposed to be fun.
Jordan,
Yeah.
if your story had a start and scene, where would it be?
Oh, that is an interesting question. For leadership or for my relationship with J. Cole?
Let's do the relationship with J. Cole.
I think that started at San Diego State, where we were brought up on the phrase leadership starts here. So I was doing work in American Marketing Association and a few other student orgs, came across this guy, J. Cole, who showed up to African Student Union meetings and other meetings. I was like, what is this guy doing out here? And we've just stayed in lockstep ever since. So I was really involved in student organizations, involved in over 20 in college, and just kept going from there.
What about you?
Jordan and I were definitely the joiners. I feel like we were in a lot of organizations. We met University Affairs Board within the student government. So I think what was interesting about that board, it's a pretty broad board with a lot of different roles, responsibilities, but a lot of focus on student policies and like student life experiences. So you get a whole bunch of different types of people who want to sit on that board.
Yeah.
I think our big thing was trying to get skateboarding back on campus,
How'd that go?
At that time, I don't think we got it, but I think eventually they did bring it back a little bit. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun for us to like be engaged really early. And we had a lot of other folks from that board that we're still friends with to this day. Nick Serrano is one of them, works for the mayor. Corey Pallant, obviously in fundraising San Diego. So a lot of us who came through that board are still pretty active.
That's really cool. I personally want to know, like individually though, because I feel like I don't know. I don't know you both yet, but I want to know if your story had like your either leadership story had a starting scene. What would that be?
I'm the oldest of 4 boys.
Okay.
So all 2 years apart. And so being the big brother of 3 little brothers was probably my first leadership job, trying to help bail out my parents a little bit from time to time. I would say that's my starting point.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say it's not my story. I would say it's my father's story and my parents' story, I think. And their whole life was dedicated to service. So I think I grew up seeing a family that was dedicated towards the community, towards addressing gang issues that were happening in West Side, South Side, Chicago, and knowing that like a life that's worth living is a life that's of service.
So I actually want to talk about that. You said you learned the dedication to service from your dad, and I see that in the work that you do and your brothers do.
Yeah.
But you've also described yourself as a man on a mission to build environments where people can thrive, not just from the classroom and the work that you've done previously, but to the boardrooms where you're now.
Yeah.
Where did that mission come from?
I think same goes back to my father.
Yeah.
And honestly, too, I would also say growing up in school, sometimes I was a quiet kid. Sitting in the back, easy to be invisible. And I think trying to figure out how do you live a life where no one can be invisible? when you think about disenfranchised communities or folks that have experiences that are less than ideal, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So then my life purpose was figuring out what ways can we design environments from classrooms, boardrooms,
Mm.
working in HR spaces
Mhm.
now where folks can actually thrive. And then I'm also fascinated with like human potential. Like if we removed and help folks remove some of the barriers that they're facing, what can people actually do? And that's where
Mm.
J. Cole and I have partnered together with the work at Reality Changers, giving students
Hmm.
internships and really trying to find transformational ways to change the realities of folks that they're experiencing every single day.
For us, we're big believers in access. And so like I think one thing that really unifies our work, whether it was at SCSU or
Hmm.
even now, it's like how do we democratize access? How do we eliminate the barriers to entry? And encouraging folks to bet big on themselves early.
Mhm.
I think we all kind of get imposter syndrome, whether we're in big organizations or we take on new roles. And I think for us, like the earlier kids can get access and be put in positions to compete and build confidence, good habits.
Like, what does that taught you about leadership, and what have you been seeing in leadership in brands, or also what do big brands kind of need in leadership that you've kind of seen not there at times?
Yeah. There's this interesting essay called by Paul Graham called Founder Mode. And it's essentially about within like the business landscape, there's a founder mode and manager mode. The way I would say is like action versus empowerment or like action versus leadership. And I think when you come through your leadership journey, you come to a place where usually that's a type A person who wants to take everything on, right? And they're struggling to be able to balance what do I delegate? How do I empower folks to step up versus like, oh, I'll just do this because it's easier. So on the brand side, I've worked with a lot of leaders who are founders. They have built this from the ground up. It's their baby, and it's hard for them, I think, to like trust and let go. And then you get the established companies where, they've scaled at their rate because they were diligent in their organizational leadership about roles and responsibilities. So, especially on the brand side, I think you just see like the identity change in leadership, and you're kind of forced to evolve. And if you don't, not so great things happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that close for like really firsthand in the last couple years with Brandon and David's Heart Foundation, as he's the founder and has been running this thing now for 20 years. And he has a big goal by 2031 to hand over the directorship of the organization. And it's in the plans to really give it to a young leader in the community. So that's been like a really cool thing to watch in that aspect.
Well,
So
it's interesting because very few leaders, I think, would be willing to do it like that. Succession planning, right, is always the big thing. Disney had issues, even one of the biggest brands in the world, because most times leaders don't want to let go. So it's pretty powerful that he's willing
yeah,
to
it's
do
really
it
cool.
now.
Really, really cool.
So I want to go back and on your experience at Associated Students just for a little bit before we move on to the work that you're doing in the community now. So Jordan, you talked about the human like potential, and
Yeah.
J. Cole, you talked about empowering young folks to step up, and that is something that Associated Students really tries to do. And full disclosure, I worked there for 8 years or so. It's like that is how I knew both of you from the beginning. And what I really enjoyed about AS is that it did try to empower young leaders to find what they were passionate about and then say, okay, I'm going to advise you, but you're the one who's going to make that decision. I mean, Jekyll, you were president, you were involved in a college council. Like, take me back to that. What did you learn about leadership in that experience while in college that has kind of influenced how you're leading now?
I think for me, it starts with a woman named Chanel McNutt. She
Hmm.
got a few of us together. She was the executive vice president, and she got a lot of folks that really never thought about AS leadership together, and said, "Hey, you all can do it." And she helped us out and trained us. So for me, I think my leadership in AS started with seeing that someone else said, "Hey, you can actually do this.
Hmm.
There's a space here for you." Believing that and trusting that relationship, and then seeing it manifest. So when we were trying to go to different sorority, fraternity houses, student orgs to campaign, we did it as a group. And so I think part of my leadership understanding was understanding that, hey, when you get to those spaces, make sure that you're reaching back to make sure you're making the door for someone else to walk through. So I think that's where it started there. And then just like you said, AS enabled us to actually have a voice to
Yeah.
say, hey, let's be passionate about this. Let's understand student concerns. And you realize, like, when you get elected, I'm not here to put what I think matters. I need to
Hmm.
represent what folks say matters to them.
Hmm.
And so really changing from, yes, I have things that I'm interested in, but is that what the students actually needed? And it really framed leadership really being about service and not self-desired principles. Oh, I want this, I
Hmm.
want this food, whatever. No, like what's the best for most folks? How do you hear from the most voices? And then where do you go from there?
Yeah, there's a couple things Jordan said that I think resonate. Mentorship,
Hmm.
big
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
really big.
Um, Cody Barbo, Rob O'Keefe, two former AS presidents before me that mentored me in a big way and then created opportunities for me to get involved, which allowed me to kind of accelerate that path. When I came to San Diego State, there was only one leadership development program for freshmen, and it was limited to 5 students. And so, great program for those 5 students. But I was one of the unlucky few that applied and didn't get it, which then, when I was president, we created a bigger, wider program to encompass more freshmen and sophomores. Cause again, it's about access and like democratizing that opportunity. Also with the leadership minor, that was a big part of our leadership journey back then in AS, was helping deans and faculty kind of create those programs. So I think what's interesting too, as Jordan mentioned, like paying it back, right? Is it's all about seeing all these students now who are going through those programs and now are AS execs or they're leaders in the community. And then we're always encouraging them to go back and pay it forward. AS is like leave your legacy,
Yes,
which
live your legacy. I
live your
remember.
legacy, leave
Hmm.
your legacy. And
Hmm.
for us, it was like, hey, this one is something that all students want, not just personally what we think is best. And two, we don't really care about who gets the credit.
Yeah.
For us, it's about looking back, seeing how much do those students get impacted by those programs.
So one of the things that's interesting about AS in particular is that you are a leader. Like your decisions are truly guide the direction of the organization. But like you said, you had to go around and campaign and convince your peers. What did that teach you about influence and negotiation and bringing people to your side of your idea?
I think it's just, there's a vulnerability there just to
Yeah.
put yourself out there to so many different types of students when you walk into a room and you're putting your ideas out there. I think what Jordan mentioned, like it goes back to the team. Like we weren't doing it alone.
Yeah.
We surrounded ourselves with teammates and other students that we propped each other up. And I think that's so important because leadership, we think of it as like a individual sport.
Yes.
No, it's a team sport.
Absolutely.
Like whether you're building companies, whether you're
Mhm.
building organizations, it's team first. And I think it's too easy sometimes when you get the title, you get caught up in your own in your own world, but
Yeah.
it's like bring it back to the team. I think that's what helped us really well is we surrounded ourselves with leaders who are smarter and better. Great. Like no, no impact on us, like makes us better too.
And you can build off each other. And obviously that
Yeah.
relationship has
100%.
Absolutely.
continued.
I got to be his campaign
Yeah.
manager. And I
That's
think,
right.
I think I would just
I
add
got a
to-
lot of good feedback from
Yeah.
Yes,
Jordan
did
on
you?
those.
Oh, I gave a lot
He
of
ripped me
feedback.
apart
Yeah,
a couple
gave
times.
us a really
It's a
good
learning
feedback.
opportunity.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think to your point of like influence, though, I think part of it, especially when you're running a campaign, you understand not everyone's going to vote for you,
Yes.
but you then are responsible to represent everyone.
Yeah.
So how do you find that balance between knowing not everyone's going to like you, but you're still going to be responsible for the cares and the needs and the desires of everyone? I think that's the
Mhm.
tricky part of leadership because you have to find that balance. You have to find that idea of knowing that when I campaign, when I say something, and even in leadership, everyone is not going to be your biggest fan, but you still, as a leader, have to care for everyone in which is under your care or you're in
Mhm.
community with. So finding that balance, I think, was part of that AS kind of foundational understanding of leadership as well.
So for somebody that's maybe taking entrepreneurial route or is still kind of on that journey, what are other spaces that you've seen cultivate that similar type of experience? And I kind of am posing the question towards access, right?
Yeah.
Like that experience you guys had access to, but broader, broader wise, like what does it look like to bring more access, So
Years ago, Jordan was a early employee of Reality Changers and became a VP. And then I was doing work for a nonprofit focused on coding. It was called Soft Stack Factory. Harold Gottschalk, serial entrepreneur, big time investor,
mm,
invested his own capital to help any student or any person in San Diego become a full stack developer. Just an incredibly influential and just genuine man that we both knew very well. And Harold was all about flip code or like make code, not flip hamburgers. His whole thing was how do I create an infrastructure to allow anybody to come
mm,
in and do these jobs that you would think you would need college degrees. I
mm.
think what's awesome is I don't think
Wow.
college is the requisite anymore
Mm.
to
I don't think so either. I agree with
compete.
that.
Wow.
All that to be said, we then partnered with Reality Changers, and we actually put a whole bunch of students through a robotics camp. And then the
Mm.
data came back. Jordan sent me the data. It's like, oh, a lot of students are now interested in robotics, and that was kind of like the study, like the art and science of, oh, if we create more of these opportunities,
Mm.
then we can get students in the game. And I think it ties back to project based learning,
Mhm.
whether you do it at university or at corporate. You can find creative spaces where kids are building skills. We were just talking about this earlier in the week. This is like now a skills based economy. not like where you got your piece of paper. And so I think students have to evolve
That's cool.
to that.
And I think in terms of spaces, I mean, not to plug it, but Lead San Diego is
Oh,
amazing.
wait,
you're
Lead,
talking about
Lead,
Lead?
Lead is great.
Let's talk
Lead,
about Lead,
yeah,
Jordan.
Lead is great. Lead is great for that. I mean, Lead is great. I've been a part of other spaces like Rotary clubs, Horizon Scholars, Rise. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But I would say finding the space is important. But I think what's more so important is finding the people or person in those spaces. Like, I think the places where I was able to accelerate my leadership was because one person not only believed in me, but advocated for me. One of the reasons why I'm on the board is because one of my mentors was like, hey, do you know about these? You should join the board. And so I think it's going to the spaces, building those intentional relationships, and then them paying dividends years down the line. One of my mentors I met was in Rotary San Diego State, David Oates. He's in Rotary. He's walked with me through life. There were times I was confused about a job. He walked with me there. J.Cole and I met in college, and 10 years later, we're still collaborating on work that aligns with both of our collective missions. So I think places like Lead are just great environments where people are there. So find your folks there that you can really align with, and life can truly flourish.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your Lead experience.
Yeah.
You shared that Lead gave you a community that made, I mean, you're born and raised in San Diego, but it made San Diego feel small.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, your Lead program happened around the same time as the pandemic. So what did your life look like after your impact program?
I think just making San Diego small.
Yeah.
I think San Diego has a lot of leaders that are incredible in a variety of different spaces. And I would say after Lead, I could go to every event and at least know 2 or 3 folks that are from my Lead class who are involved in Lead. So you go to a large networking event, 100, 200, 500,000 plus people. You're just like, oh God, okay. Either I have to start networking. Exactly. And then you're just like, oh, a Lead person. So it's like having family in every space you go. They'll introduce you to folks. It makes the room that much smaller. So I think Lead helped me. And I think as well, I was one of the younger folks in my Lead class. So being able to learn from folks who are farther along their journeys in their professional careers and whatever they're doing, it was incredible afterwards to have access to those folks who I still talk to this day.
What did it help you understand when it comes to San Diego? Like, because for me, I'm 28 now.
He'll be going through the next program.
I'll be going through the next one.
I
I'm
love
excited.
Love that.
It's been really cool because the last couple of years, I feel like I've kind of been able to see what you guys are talking about with Lead, like the experience. Because I grew up in the South Bay and I didn't see San Diego for what it actually what it actually was, and nor like this other business side of San Diego. So
and the networks and the
the different networks and the people. I just was a kid, like, living in San Diego. What was it about Lead that helped you understand that San Diego was really small, and also who the people were that were driving change or organizations and stuff like that?
Well, I think they were in the room, and I think to your point, when I took it, they said it's like get a master's degree in San Diego. I was like, I don't even know what this means. And then you realize to that point as well, like where you live can impact what you actually know or don't know. So you live in the South Bay, you might not know what things are happening north of the 8. You might not know about the thriving biotech, life sciences space that are going on in the Torrey Pines, Carlsbad area. So I think what Lead did was, to the point we're talking about, democratize the access of like, what are the key areas in San Diego, whether it's military, life sciences, education. I know Veronica was talking about the trash and that all the things that go on there. Like there was so much I didn't do.
Sustainability is very important.
Sustainability is incredibly important.
Value of AM.
Happy to be trash talking specifically about trash. Where to put it, where to throw it away.
Pun intended.
So I think that was it for me. Like there was so much that you just don't know until what you don't know. And when you step into Lead, you realize there are so many robust industries: tourism, sustainability, military, education, life science. There's so much. That you just don't know. And then to hear from folks that aren't just in these spaces, but leading these spaces, what challenges they're facing from a workforce development standpoint, from an economy standpoint, all those things, you're like, oh, wow. But then you can also think about, okay, so where does my life intersect with these? What are the skills and talents that I have? And then you hear from the nonprofits, and you can like see almost all these puzzle pieces coming together, where now you really have a clear, wide vision of what San Diego is across for-profit, nonprofit, people who care, people that are young, people who are old. It is a beautiful nexus of finding the challenges and a great space to find the opportunities of what you can do in San Diego with a large supportive community.
And it's that community and network that comes in.
Absolutely.
For sure. So J.Cole, you have a different Lead experience. Both programs that you participated in have been sunset, but you also had a position on the Lead board through your role with the San Diego Young Leaders. So talk about how your involvement in the Public Leadership Institute and the San Diego Young Leaders, and how that got you more involved in the chamber and then your connection to the community now.
It was both sunset.
Both sunset.
RIP to those programs. We love them. I think a couple of the strains that Jordan mentioned, relationship
Mhm.
building, and I think community. I was involved at San Diego State, but then I moved away to Chicago for a job, and then I came back, and then I was working for a tech startup. So I wasn't. I was kind of in like early grind mode, and
Yeah.
I didn't really think
Mm.
about like, oh, how do I get like reconnected to the like a community that I fell in love with in
Yeah.
college. So Lead was kind of that organization for me to like get back in the game on the community side. I think PLI was awesome. It was a very casual conversation with we talked about mentors. Jerry Sanders is one of my
Mhm. Mhm.
mentors coming up. And I told him, hey, I want to serve the city. I don't really know in what capacity. Like
Mm.
library commission really appeals to me because it's where STEM and education is. He's like, well, if you don't know, you should just go through our PLI program. And so again, I just thought it was a great way to learn the city,
Mhm.
learn kind of what goes on and everything that goes into all these public service outlets. And then young leaders, what was interesting is you have a lot of these heavy hitter policy folks who really were part of that board. And I'm like this AI startup guy who just like shows up to meetings. And I just thought it was like a really cool organization to be a part of.
Yeah.
So one, just meeting other leaders who, and I thought was interesting about that group, it's 21 to 40.
Yeah.
So I had mentors within that group. We're all
Mm.
young leaders, but still I'm
Going
in
through it
like
together.
my mid 20s and I've got folks pushing 40 who are like teaching me a lot of those like next level lessons. Like I feel like great mentors don't have to be the more established
Mm-mm.
leaders. They're also the up and
Mhm.
coming leaders that are the
Mhm.
next step of where
You
you
can learn something
want to
from everyone you've
go
gone through
for
with.
sure.
Yep.
Both of you started leadership pretty early. Like you guys started pretty young. And what was it about lead that added something that your career success, like you couldn't have gotten in your career success? Like what is it that lead added to your journey?
I think it's like for me, learning a lot of different types of leadership
Yeah.
because I'm in
Mm.
my industry. I might be biased in my industry, but then I see how all these other leaders operate from all these different walks of
Mhm.
life. And so for me, it's like it's just learning by watching is like
Mm.
the exposure piece. I think like a lot of the programs we talk about for the kids, part of it is accessibility. Other parts are just exposure.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
our internship program, when I'm leading a lot of our first generation high school students who are going to be the first in their families to go to college,
Mhm.
a lot of that is the exposure of here's how you present yourself, here's how you show up to meetings, like the kind of day to day things that no one really teaches you. You have to figure it out, but that's leadership too.
Mhm.
And so I would say just learning from the other leaders and how they would operate I was able to bring that community aspect to like a corporate environment.
Mm.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking on that as well. I know we started our leadership journey kind of young, but I know there are a lot of folks that didn't just what we say maybe informal ways, whether
Yeah.
they're
Mm.
taking care of like siblings at home or just
Yeah.
have other responsibilities that I think sometimes I even challenge what our common nomenclature might be around leadership
Leadership.
because it
Yeah.
can be expressed in so many different ways. I think
Mhm.
we found ways to
Mhm.
express it at SDSU, but there are folks that were commuting students working. I mean, it's a form of
Mhm.
leadership to pay your bills and go to
And show
school.
up.
It's a form of
Yeah.
leadership.
Yep.
100%.
But I think for me, I think about I think it's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Mhm.
And I think lead gave me togetherness with folks to
Mhm.
go farther than I could have thought. So to make room smaller when you network, to provide
Mhm.
opportunities, whether it's job, to provide insights at critical junctures of life. I think
Mhm.
for us coming up younger and having folks that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, I can say, hey, I might not go that way, and
Mhm.
here's why. So to be able to learn over the shoulder saves you
Mhm.
time, saves you energy, saves you money, saves you frustration by having that lead community that says, I can show you what I did and that
Mhm.
you can learn over the shoulder from.
And where are you now? So you
Yeah,
said you started young, you've been involved in
yeah,
the community. Where are you now in your leadership journey?
yeah. I say still evolving. I mean,
Yep.
still there.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
on
It's a journey. It's not a
yeah,
path. That's why I
on
said,
on a few boards, and I think evolving and understanding what does the impact look like
yeah.
now. I think still feeling the responsibility of passing down whatever I
Mhm.
can. I still know San Diego State Rotaract president now, and
Mhm.
say,
Yep.
hey, however I can support. So to me, that obligation never changed. I would say I'm in a place where my convictions remain the same,
Yep.
but how they're expressed or evolved based off of where I'm at professionally, personally, all those things as well.
That's cool. J. Cole, what about you?
I would say like in my full-time job, I was recently a people manager. So I did lead a team of like 10 full-time
Mm.
professionals. That was a leadership experience in itself
Mhm.
of managing people and everything that comes with that. In my new role now, leading a lot of initiatives. So maybe not the
Mhm.
people management side as much, but trying to lead initiatives, programs for the company.
Mhm.
And I think the reality change program we do every year, I'm leading a lot of those first generation students which honestly is like what makes me super happy, right? Because it's like we're trying to help create the next generation of leaders too.
Mhm.
So as I Jordan and I, as we joke about, we still have a long way to go. But for us, is in the journey, how do we bring people with us? Like, how do
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
also, as we learn, proactively build others up?
Mhm.
And I also think the kids mentor me too, right? The
Yeah.
students that we bring
Yeah.
in, like
Mhm.
they hold me accountable as well, and I'm learning as much from those young leaders as I probably more than what they're learning from me too.
Yeah, I relate. I relate to
Yeah.
that a lot.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
Yep.
I relate to that a lot on this side. And it's like, so I was a student here at David's Harp,
Yep.
became an
Yeah.
intern after teaching music, and then kind of just continued my journey from there. But it's different when kids are relying on you.
Yeah.
Like, to be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
it really is different. But then also, like, the accountability is
Yeah.
just continues to go up.
And
Um,
I would add briefly as well. I think both of us are at this interesting age where we're not young, where we're recent grads, where we're not
mhm.
old, where we're thinking about retirement. So I think
I mean,
as we
I think about it.
I think about it. I think about it. Like, you know, maybe I need to
Action it.
Maybe I need to think about it more. Yeah, action it exactly.
Mhm.
I think we're the sweet spot where we can pass on. Like, to me, I'm now like, I just want to plug everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I don't care. Like, oh, you trying to do this? Oh, I know so and so that like
Yeah.
runs a company.
I
Oh, you
love
need
that.
this? Oh,
Yeah.
I know this person to lead that does that. Like
Yeah.
now, I'm like, so I get to do a lot of work with just students in volunteering capacities in different ways. And for me now, I'm just like, I just want to be the plug. Like, let me expedite what you dream about as much as possible for whatever you need.
Rising tides lifts all boats. And I think young leaders who are maybe listening, it's like, don't be afraid to ask. I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing. Like I spoke with Jordan's class earlier this week and like challenging the students, hey,
Mhm.
like you see these opportunities in front of you, like the worst thing they can do is say no.
Mhm.
Most likely, even if can't give you the opportunity, they'll try to find some other capacity
Yeah.
to help. So I think for young leadership, it's like not being afraid to ask the advice.
I
Cody
got
Barber
my,
was my first mentor, and I asked
Yeah.
him to help. Right? It was like,
yeah, I got my ass for you guys after this.
Okay,
Don't worry.
we got you. We
I
got
got
you.
you.
We're ready.
I have some questions
We
and
got you.
some needs as well.
We
So
got you.
Okay.
thank you
Love
guys for that. This next question is for J. Cole.
Okay.
J. Cole,
Yeah.
in your industry,
Mhm.
very much technological, very much media based.
Yeah.
You might be sitting in front of a computer all day long.
Some days, yeah.
Some days,
Yeah.
maybe. But how do you do what you do without losing the human side aspect of life?
It's such a great question because I feel like that's an ever
Mm-hmm.
continuing process. And I think you have to be very intentional about creating spaces, especially ones that don't revolve around work. So in my most recent team, I had friends who I was working with, but I also recruited people
Mm.
from San Diego and brought them onto the team that I thought
Nice.
would be a fit. And a lot of it was roles, responsibilities, skills I knew they had that the team needed. I also looked at it as like culture.
Mm.
And I do believe, like, especially when you're coming up as a leader, strongest relationships are usually with those coworkers during the adversity
Mhm.
moments, right? Where you're in the trenches trying to
Mhm.
create
Go through the
together.
storm. Yeah.
And what our company is pretty interesting is we have funds at the company that incentivize coworkers within different regions across the country to get together.
Hmm.
So our company is actually backing a lot of those initiatives with their own pocket. So I think it's important, but you have to be intentional because
Mhm.
at the pace our industry goes,
Mm.
a week can fly by. There's always stuff you can do for clients and companies. So I say that because unless you really prioritize it and make it a pillar of your
Mhm.
culture, it's the first thing that you can easily put on the back burner.
Mhm.
Oh, we'll get together in a couple of weeks. Even as adults, like
Mhm.
Jordan and I can go months without seeing each other just with schedules and everything else.
But you
So,
still have that human connection.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan, last question for you is
Yeah.
because you're involved in the human side, the human
Yeah.
capital side.
Absolutely.
When you look across San Diego now, like what do you think is missing for people to thrive?
That is a very good question. Well, we have the weather.
Well, right now it's hot. It's summertime.
Yeah, that's true. It's very
We're
hot.
thriving in summer when it just started spring.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just the access
Yeah.
to all the different industries where Lead really fills that gap to inform folks, but really having people champions that'll come south of the 8,
Mhm.
that'll go north of the 8,
Mhm.
that'll provide access in all these ways so that folks can know about these opportunities. Like I think there are a lot of people that are interested in some of the phenomenal business scenes, tech scenes, music and art scenes, but don't actually know all that's
Yeah.
going on. So I think there's a space there. And then second place, look, society demands a lot.
Yes.
Got to work, pay bills, do all these things. So I think connecting back to that human side, for us to be more human to each other, for us to have genuine
Mhm.
care for the humanity of the folks around us, and then to try to
Mhm.
figure out, even if the world is dealing with challenges across all the things, how can we be more human to each other in moments where humanity can feel like an afterthought?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I really appreciate you both being here. It's like I obviously know you from my previous work with associated students, and it's been such a joy to be able to continue to work with you, obviously with you on the board. And I appreciate your conversation and talking about how you have both been encouraging the next generation of leaders.
So thank you all for having us.
Yeah, of
Thanks for
course.
having us.
Yeah.
For me, the one of the biggest things I'm taking away from this conversation is the fact that you guys have had the experience that you've had and are in leadership, but are also continuing to pour back into
Mhm.
the next generation of leaders. And it's important because I feel like sometimes in San Diego, you might feel like the only one doing it.
Yeah.
But I do think
Yeah.
that by your guys' example, others will continue to pour back into others. So that's
We're
really,
following your lead.
hey,
You can do it
let's do
yourself.
it. Let's do it.
On that note, this has been Leading San Diego, produced in partnership with the David Tarp Foundation. Thanks for listening.